Chapter 1. The Wake-Up Call. Have you ever had that sinking feeling when payday arrives, and within days, sometimes hours, you're back to checking your bank balance and wondering where it all went? If so, you're not alone. Millions of millennials live in that cycle. The rent clears, the bills get paid, a few swipes of your card for coffee, streaming subscriptions, maybe a night out with friends, and suddenly, you're broke again. This is the modern financial trap. Working hard, earning decent money, yet always one step behind. And if that's where you are right now, this chapter is your wake-up call. I want you to picture your financial life like a leaking bucket. Money flows in from your job or side hustle, but leaks spring up everywhere. Debt payments, interest rates, impulse buys, social pressure, even plain old procrastination. By the time you've noticed, the bucket's almost empty again. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what are the biggest leaks in my financial bucket right now? Is it debt? Is it the way you spend on convenience? Or is it simply not knowing where your money actually goes? Here's the truth: being broke doesn't mean you're irresponsible or lazy. In fact, most millennials today are juggling higher costs of living, crushing student loans, and wages that haven't kept pace with inflation. The system is not designed to make it easy for you. But the good news is, you don't have to play by the system's rules. Think about this. Every single person you admire who has achieved financial freedom started in the same place: broke, uncertain, and overwhelmed. The difference wasn't luck. It was awareness, discipline, and a refusal to let their paycheck dictate their destiny. So what does it mean to wake up financially? It means finally deciding to look your money in the eye. It means pulling back the curtain on your spending habits, facing your debt head-on, and realizing that financial freedom is not just for the wealthy, it's for you too. Let me tell you a quick story. I once knew a young professional, let's call her Maya, who earned a respectable salary. On paper, she should have been thriving. Yet, she was drowning in credit card debt, constantly overdrafting, and living in quiet panic. Her wake-up call came one evening when she tried to buy groceries and her card was declined. Embarrassed and frustrated, she realized something had to change. Within months, she committed to tracking every dollar. She cut unnecessary expenses, but more importantly, she changed her mindset. Instead of thinking, "I'll never get ahead," she began asking, "How can I use what I have today to build a better tomorrow?" Fast forward 2 years, her debt was gone, her savings was growing, and she was no longer broke. The same is possible for you. But it begins here, with this wake-up call. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Financial change takes effort. But let me ask you, isn't a little discomfort now worth a lifetime of freedom later? Imagine not stressing over bills. Imagine choosing work because you want to, not because you have to. Imagine being able to help your family, travel when you please, or simply sleep at night without money worries gnawing at you. That's the vision I want you to hold on to as we move through this book. Because this isn't about pinching pennies for the rest of your life. It's about building a system of freedom. Here's your first action step. Over the next week, write down every expense you make. Big or small, card or cash, doesn't matter. At the end of the week, review it. Notice where the leaks are. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Pause and ask yourself, if I keep doing what I'm doing financially for the next 5 years, where will I end up? Am I okay with that answer? Okay with that? If the answer is no, then congratulations, you've just had your wake-up call. And before we move to the next chapter, let me remind you, this journey works best when it's shared. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video if it resonates with you, and subscribe for more chapters of this journey. Because financial freedom isn't just a personal mission, it's a community movement. This is where your story begins. You may be broke now, but you won't stay broke forever unless you choose to. Chapter 2. Money Mindset Makeover. If Chapter 1 was your wake-up call, then this chapter is your transformation moment. Because before you can change your financial situation, you must first change the way you think about money. Think about it. If you grew up hearing phrases like, "money doesn't grow on trees," or "rich people are greedy," then you may have unknowingly built beliefs that sabotage your own success. You might even feel guilty for wanting more, as if financial freedom is selfish. But here's the truth. Your money mindset is the foundation for everything else. Pause for a second and ask yourself, what did I learn about money as a child? Were those lessons empowering or limiting? Most millennials carry money stories handed down from parents, teachers, or even society. And while those stories may have been true in one generation, they don't have to define yours. If your parents struggled financially, that doesn't mean you're destined to do the same. If your friends normalize living paycheck to paycheck, that doesn't mean you must follow their script. Here's the key. Wealth begins in the mind long before it shows up in the bank. Let me share a story. A young man named Daniel once believed he would always be broke. His father worked 2 jobs, his mother clipped coupons, and every conversation in their house revolved around not having enough. As an adult, Daniel repeated the cycle. He undercharged for his work, avoided investing, and felt paralyzed by the idea of building wealth. His breakthrough came when he realized he wasn't afraid of money, he was afraid of becoming greedy, like the wealthy people he had been warned about. But when he reframed money as a tool, not a moral scorecard, everything changed. He started charging his true worth, saving with purpose, and investing consistently. Today, Daniel isn't just financially secure, he's using his money to help his family and fund causes he believes in. That's the power of a mindset makeover. Now let's talk about you. There are 3 beliefs I want you to adopt starting today. Money is a tool, not the enemy. It's neither good nor bad. It simply amplifies who you already are. If you're generous now, more money will let you be even more generous. Wealth is created, not inherited. Sure, some people are born into money, but the vast majority of self-made success stories started with little or nothing. You have that same ability. Financial freedom is for everyone, not just a select few. Don't buy into the lie that you must be extraordinary or lucky. You don't need to win the lottery or invent the next iPhone. Ordinary people build wealth through consistent, simple actions over time. Pause and ask yourself, which of these beliefs do I struggle with the most? What's one step I can take today to begin shifting it? Here's an exercise you can do right now. Grab a piece of paper and write down your 3 strongest money memories, good or bad. Then, next to each, write the belief that came from that memory. For example, maybe when your parents argued about bills, you learned money causes stress. Or maybe when your grandmother gave you a small savings bond, you learned money grows when you save. Once you've identified those beliefs, challenge the ones that no longer serve you. Replace money causes stress with money can create peace and security. Replace I'll always be broke with I'm learning how to build wealth every day. I know this may sound simple, but don't underestimate it. The stories you tell yourself about money shape the choices you make, and those choices, repeated over time, become your financial destiny. Remember this. You are not broke, you are in transition. Your current bank balance is just a reflection of past choices and past beliefs. But today, right now, you are writing a new story. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You're sitting at your favorite cafe, sipping coffee, scrolling through your bank app. But instead of dread, you feel peace. You see a growing savings account, investments working for you, maybe even the down payment for your first home. And you realize it all started here, with a simple shift in mindset. Let that vision pull you forward. And before we wrap up this chapter, I want you to engage with this journey. Share in the comments below. What's one limiting money belief you're ready to release? Your story might inspire someone else to do the same. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you won't miss the next step of our path to financial freedom. Because next, we're going to tackle one of the biggest obstacles holding millennials back: debt. And I'll show you why it's the silent wealth killer and how you can finally break free. Chapter 3. Debt, the silent wealth killer. Debt is like quicksand. You don't realize how deep you're in until you start sinking. And for most millennials, debt has become the silent background noise of life. Student loans, credit cards, car payments, maybe even buy now, pay later apps. It feels normal, almost unavoidable. But here's the harsh truth. Debt is the #1 barrier standing between you and financial freedom. Think of debt as a thief. Every dollar you owe steals not just money, but also your time, your energy, and your future opportunities. Interest payments are like chains, keeping you tied to your past decisions, instead of allowing you to invest in your future. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how much of my monthly income is going toward paying off debt instead of building wealth? For many, the number is shocking. I once coached a young professional, let's call him Ryan, who earned $60,000 a year. On the surface, not bad. But when we broke down his finances, over $200 every month went to minimum debt payments, credit cards, student loans, and a lingering car note. That's $14,400 a year gone. Not building investments, not creating security, just disappearing into banks' pockets. And here's the kicker. If Ryan had invested that same $14,400 every year for 20 years, even with modest growth, he could have built close to $500,000. That's the real cost of debt. Not just what you pay, but what you lose by not being able to build. Now, I want to be clear. Not all debt is created equal. There's high-interest consumer debt like credit cards that bleeds you dry quickly. Then there's lower-interest debt, like student loans or mortgages, which can sometimes be considered manageable. But here's the mindset shift. Debt is still debt. Whether the interest rate is 5% or 25%, every payment you make is money you can't use to move forward. So how do you fight back against this silent killer? Step 1. Face the numbers. This part stings, but it's non-negotiable. Write down every single debt you owe. Credit cards, student loans, medical bills, car loans, everything. List the balance, the minimum payment, and the interest rate. Most people avoid this step because it feels overwhelming. But trust me, clarity is the beginning of freedom. Step 2. Choose your weapon, avalanche or snowball. There are two powerful methods for paying off debt. The avalanche method means tackling the highest interest debt first, which mathematically saves you the most money. The snowball method means starting with the smallest debt, paying it off quickly, and gaining momentum. Which one is better? The one you'll stick with. Momentum matters as much as math. Step 3. Attack with intensity. Getting out of debt is not a someday goal. It requires focused energy. That might mean picking up a side hustle, selling unused items, or cutting back on temporary luxuries. It's not forever, but the sacrifices you make now will pay you back tenfold in freedom. Pause and ask yourself, if I became debt-free, what would I do with the money I currently send to creditors every month? Here's another story for you. A woman named Jessica had nearly $30,000 in credit card debt. She was suffocating under minimum payments, convinced she'd never escape. But one day she made a radical decision. She cut up her cards, took on weekend freelance work, and funneled every extra dollar toward her debt. It wasn't glamorous. Her friends teased her for saying no to nights out. But within 28 months, she was completely debt-free. The day she made her final payment, she cried not from sadness, but from the weight that had lifted. For the first time in years, her paycheck was hers to keep. Debt freedom feels like oxygen. And I want you to experience that same moment. Imagine your life without monthly payments, no credit card bills, no student loan notices, no lingering car payment. Just your income, fully yours to decide where it goes. That's not just financial freedom, it's emotional freedom. Here's your challenge for this week. Make your debt list. Face the numbers. Then choose whether you'll follow the avalanche or snowball method. Write it down. Commit. And remember, you're not alone in this fight. Thousands of millennials are breaking free from debt every single day. Share your story in the comments. What's the first debt you're going to tackle? Inspire someone else who feels stuck. And if you found value in this chapter, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we're going to tackle the skill that transforms debt freedom into wealth building. Budgeting that doesn't suck. Debt may be the silent killer of wealth, but awareness, strategy, and action will silence it for good. Chapter 4. Budgeting that doesn't suck. The very word budget can make people groan. For most, budgeting feels like dieting, restrictive, boring, and destined to fail. But here's the secret. A budget isn't about cutting out everything fun. It's about giving your money a purpose. Think of it this way. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will slip away without asking permission. A budget is simply a roadmap that ensures every dollar is working for you, not against you. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when I hear the word budget, what feelings come up? Stress? Boredom? Guilt? Or maybe control and clarity? For most millennials, the negative feelings stem from bad experiences. Maybe you tried budgeting once, built an overly complicated spreadsheet, and gave up in frustration. Maybe you told yourself, I'll never eat out again, and lasted about 3 days before caving in. That's because traditional budgeting often focuses on restriction instead of freedom. But budgeting done right feels liberating. It's about knowing where your money is going, being intentional with choices, and building toward your goals without feeling deprived. Let me share a story. A guy named Chris once told me, budgeting doesn't work for me. He made good money but felt broke constantly. I asked him what kind of budget he had used before. He shrugged and admitted he had downloaded a random template online but never followed through. We tried something different. Instead of making a list of restrictions, we built a plan around his actual priorities: travel, paying off debt, and saving for a down payment. Suddenly, budgeting stopped being about what he couldn't do and became about what he wanted most. Within a year, Chris had taken 2 trips debt-free, paid off his credit card, and had $8,000 in savings. That's the kind of budgeting I want you to experience. So, how do you build a budget that doesn't suck? Step 1. Track. Don't judge. For 1 month, track every dollar you spend. Apps can help, but even a simple notebook works. Don't judge yourself yet. Just observe. The goal is awareness, not shame. Step 2. Categorize your spending. Break your spending into categories: housing, transportation, food, entertainment, debt payments, savings, and so on. This shows you where your money naturally flows. Step 3. Assign your priorities. Now ask, what matters most to me? Maybe it's saving for travel, crushing debt, or building an emergency fund. Highlight those categories and give them priority in your budget. Step 4. Build the plan. Use the 50-30-20 guideline as a starting point. 50% of your income for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings or debt repayment. Adjust based on your goals. The key isn't perfection, it's intention. Step 5. Automate the process. Whenever possible, automate. Set up automatic transfers to savings or investments. Schedule bill payments. The less you rely on willpower, the more consistent you'll be. Pause and ask yourself, if I gave every dollar I earn a job, what could I accomplish in the next 12 months? Now, here's a little secret. You don't have to get budgeting right the first time. Budgets are living, breathing tools. Life changes, and so will your budget. Think of it like navigation. If you make a wrong turn, you don't throw out the map, you just recalculate. And here's another pro tip. Build a fun money category. Yes, you heard that right. Give yourself a set amount of guilt-free spending each month. Whether it's coffee, concerts, or new sneakers, it's important to have room for joy. Otherwise, budgeting feels like punishment instead of empowerment. Imagine this. It's the end of the month, and instead of wondering where your money went, you already know. You look at your budget and see that bills are covered, savings is growing, debt is shrinking, and you even had fun along the way. That's financial control. That's peace of mind. Let me challenge you. This week, sit down and sketch out your first version of a budget. Don't overthink it. Start simple. Decide what your top 3 priorities are and make sure your money reflects them. And remember, you're not alone in this. Share in the comments. What's one priority you want your budget to reflect? Your answer might give someone else the inspiration they need. If this chapter gave you clarity, like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next part of our journey. Because next, we're going to tackle one of the most debated ideas in personal finance, the infamous latte factor, and why it's not really about coffee at all. Budgeting doesn't suck when it's built around your dreams. It's not a prison. It's a passport. A passport to the life you actually want. Chapter 5. The Latte Factor Reimagined. If you've ever read about personal finance, chances are you've stumbled across the famous latte factor. The idea is simple. If you skip your daily coffee and invest that money instead, you could end up with thousands, maybe even millions over time. On paper, it makes sense. But here's the problem. Focusing only on skipping coffee makes people roll their eyes. Why? Because for many, that daily latte isn't just a drink, it's a ritual, a comfort, maybe even the one small indulgence in an otherwise stressful day. So, let's reimagine the latte factor. It's not really about coffee at all. It's about the principle of small, unconscious spending and how those little leaks in your financial bucket can add up to something massive over time. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what's my latte? What's the small, recurring expense I barely notice but pay for again and again? For some, it's not coffee. It's streaming subscriptions, food delivery, in-app purchases, or buying new clothes every time there's a sale. None of these things are bad by themselves. But added up over weeks, months, and years, they can quietly rob you of your financial future. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you spend $8 a day on food delivery fees. That's $240 a month, or nearly $3,000 a year. Invested over 20 years at even a modest return, that could grow to more than $100,000. That's the true latte factor, not coffee, but the opportunity cost of unconscious spending. But here's where many gurus get it wrong. They make people feel guilty for enjoying small pleasures, and guilt is not a sustainable motivator. Instead of cutting out every joy, the smarter move is to consciously choose what's worth keeping and what's not. Here's a story. A woman named Hannah loved her daily cappuccino. When she tried to cut it out, she felt miserable and eventually gave up on budgeting altogether. But when she reimagined her latte factor, she realized the real leak wasn't her coffee. It was the 5 streaming subscriptions she barely used. By cutting down to 1 and keeping her beloved cappuccino, she saved nearly $50 a month and stayed consistent with her budget. The lesson? Eliminate what doesn't matter so you can keep what does. Step 1. Identify your lattes. Go through your last 3 months of expenses and highlight anything you barely notice but consistently pay for. Step 2. Ask yourself, does this bring joy or value? If it does, keep it guilt-free. If it doesn't, cut it without hesitation. Step 3. Redirect the savings. Every dollar saved should be given a job. Apply it toward debt, savings, or investments. That's how small amounts grow into big wins. Pause and ask yourself, if I redirected just $5 a day into my future, what would that look like over the next 10 years? Here's the kicker. Your latte factor doesn't have to be a sacrifice. It can become a source of empowerment. Every time you choose to cancel a forgotten subscription or cook at home instead of ordering out, you're telling your money, I'm in charge now. And remember, wealth isn't built on one dramatic decision. It's built on hundreds of small, consistent choices. It's not about skipping coffee, it's about being awake to where your money goes. Imagine this. 10 years from now, you check your investment account and see tens of thousands of dollars you wouldn't have had otherwise. And all because you decided to reimagine your latte factor today. Here's your challenge. Identify one latte this week and cut it. Just one. Then, take the money you saved and redirect it toward your highest financial priority. Share in the comments what you discovered. You might be surprised how many people share the same leaks. And before we move forward, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter. Because next, we're going to flip the script entirely, moving from saving money to earning more. And in today's world, the gig economy has opened up opportunities like never before. The latte factor isn't about coffee, it's about choice. And today, you're choosing freedom over mindless spending. Chapter 6. Earning More in the Gig Economy. So far, we've talked about plugging the leaks in your financial bucket, budgeting, mindset, cutting unnecessary expenses. But let's be real, you can only save so much. At some point, the real breakthrough comes not from shrinking your lifestyle, but from expanding your income. This is where the gig economy comes in. We live in an era unlike any before. Never in history has it been so easy to earn extra money outside of a traditional 9 to 5. With just a smartphone and an internet connection, opportunities are literally at your fingertips. Whether it's freelancing, ride-sharing, food delivery, digital products, or even starting a small online store, there are hundreds of ways to create additional income streams. Pause and ask yourself, if I could add just $500 a month to my income, how would that change my life right now? For some, $500 means finally paying off debt faster. For others, it means building an emergency fund, investing, or simply breathing a little easier when the bills come due. The point is, even a modest side hustle can create massive momentum. Let me share a story. A millennial couple, Mia and Jordan, were drowning in student loans. Both worked full-time jobs, but progress felt painfully slow. Instead of cutting every joy from their budget, they decided to add more income. Jordan started freelancing in graphic design on the weekends. Mia picked up a part-time gig teaching English online to international students. Within a year, they had added an extra $18,000 to their household income and used every dollar to crush their student loans. 3 years later, they were completely debt-free. That's the power of the gig economy. Step 1. Identify your skills. Ask yourself, what do I know or what can I do that others would pay for? It could be tutoring, graphic design, coding, writing, photography, or even organizing closets. Don't underestimate your skills. What feels simple to you could be valuable to someone else. Step 2. Explore platforms websites like Upwork, Fiverr, TaskRabbit, and Etsy. Open doors to clients around the world. Ride-sharing apps, delivery services, and short-term rentals like Airbnb create income opportunities almost instantly. You don't have to invent something new. You just need to plug into what already exists. Step 3. Start small, stay consistent. Your first gig might only bring in $50 or $100. That's fine. The key is momentum. Small wins grow into bigger wins over time. Consistency compounds. Step 4. Treat it like a business. Even if it's just a side hustle, approach it professionally. Deliver quality, build relationships, and reinvest part of your earnings into tools or training that make you better. This is how small gigs turn into thriving businesses. Pause and ask yourself, what skill or interest have I ignored that could become an income stream? Now, you might be thinking, but I'm already exhausted. How can I take on more? That's a valid concern. And here's the truth. You don't have to hustle forever. Think of it as a season of extra effort that sets you free later. For example, maybe you commit to 6 months of side hustling, use that money to wipe out a credit card, and then reclaim your free time. The short-term sacrifice creates long-term peace. And here's another secret. Sometimes, a side hustle reveals a passion you never knew could be profitable. I know a woman who started baking cupcakes for extra cash. Today, she owns a thriving bakery. Another friend began editing videos as a side hustle. He now runs a full-scale production company. What starts as a gig can grow into a calling. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, looking back at the decision you made today. You see an extra $3,000, $5,000, or even $10,000 added to your income, all because you chose to take action. That's not just money, that's progress, confidence, and freedom. Here's your challenge. Brainstorm 3 potential gigs you could start this week. Write them down. Research platforms where people are already earning from similar skills. Then, take one small action, create a profile, message a potential client, or post your service online. And don't forget, we're building this movement together. Share in the comments. What's one gig you could start today to boost your income? Your idea might inspire someone else. If this chapter motivated you, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and ring that notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll explore how to save money without feeling deprived. Spoiler: it's about making saving automatic, so you barely notice it's happening. The gig economy isn't just about extra cash, it's about reclaiming power over your financial future. And in today's world, that power is right in your hands. Chapter 7. Saving without feeling deprived. When most people think about saving money, they imagine cutting out every fun thing in life. No dinners out, no vacations, no new clothes, just ramen noodles and Netflix on repeat. And honestly, that sounds miserable. But here's the good news. Saving money doesn't have to feel like punishment. In fact, the best savers are often the ones who barely think about it at all. They've learned the secret. Saving isn't about willpower, it's about systems. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when I hear the word saving, do I feel excited? Or do I feel restricted? If your first reaction is restriction, you're not alone. Many millennials grew up watching their parents stress about saving, sometimes even arguing about it. No wonder the word carries baggage. But it's time to rewrite that story. Saving isn't about denying yourself. It's about creating choices. It's about giving your future self the freedom to say yes when opportunities come along. Think of saving like planting seeds. Each dollar you put away is a seed that, given time, grows into something far bigger. And just like a real garden, you don't need to stand there every second forcing it to grow. You just plant consistently, water it automatically, and watch nature do the rest. Here's a story. A young man named Alex decided he wanted to save more, but he always felt deprived when he tried to cut back. One day, he set up his bank account to automatically transfer $100 from his checking to his savings the day after payday. He told himself, if I don't see it, I won't miss it. A year later, without really noticing, he had $2,400 saved. And the best part? He never felt like he was cutting back. That's the key automation. Step 1. Pay yourself first. Most people save whatever's left after spending. But let's be honest. There's usually nothing left. Instead, flip the script. Pay yourself first. Set up an automatic transfer to savings the moment you get paid. Even if it's just $20, consistency matters more than size. Step 2. Separate your accounts. Keep your savings in a different account. Ideally one that's not too easy to access. Out of sight, out of mind. This prevents accidental spending. Step 3. Make it fun. Create separate savings buckets for things you care about. A vacation fund, a future home fund, or even a splurge fund. Suddenly, saving feels exciting, not restrictive. Step 4. Increase gradually. Start small, then step it up. If you begin with $50 a month, increase it to $75 after 3 months. Little by little, you'll surprise yourself with how much you've built. Pause and ask yourself, what would saving automatically for the next 12 months do for my peace of mind? Now some of you might be thinking, but I can barely make ends meet. How can I save? I get it. But here's the truth. Even saving $5 a week makes a difference. It's less about the amount and more about building the habit. Once the habit is strong, the amounts will grow naturally. And let me give you one more perspective shift. Saving isn't deprivation. It's delayed gratification. Imagine 2 versions of yourself. One who saves consistently and one who doesn't. Fast forward 5 years. The saver has an emergency cushion, investments growing, and options for the future. The non-saver is still stressed, still paycheck to paycheck, and still waiting for life to change. Which version of yourself do you want to meet? Here's your challenge for this week. Set up one automatic transfer, even if it's tiny. Choose an amount you won't miss and put it on autopilot. Then forget about it. In 6 months, you'll look back and be shocked at how much has piled up. And remember, we're in this together. Share in the comments. What's one savings goal you're excited about? Maybe it's a trip, maybe it's freedom from stress, maybe it's just a cushion so you can finally sleep better at night. If this chapter gave you hope like this video, subscribe for more and hit the notification bell because in the next chapter we'll tackle something many millennials fear but desperately need to understand. Credit scores. I'll show you how to demystify them and turn that 3-digit number into a tool for freedom instead of a source of anxiety. Saving doesn't have to feel deprived. Done right, it feels empowering. And once you taste that empowerment, you'll never look at money the same way again. Chapter 8. Credit Scores Demystified. For many millennials, the phrase credit score brings up anxiety. It feels like this mysterious 3-digit number that decides your fate, whether you can rent an apartment, buy a car, or qualify for a mortgage. Yet few people actually understand how it works. Here's the good news. Your credit score isn't a mystery, and it's not fixed. It's simply a reflection of how you've managed borrowed money in the past. And with the right knowledge, you can improve it, protect it, and use it as a tool instead of letting it be a source of fear. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what's the first word that comes to mind when I hear credit score? Stress? Confusion? Or maybe opportunity? Most people don't realize this number impacts almost everything. Landlords check it. Employers sometimes check it. Banks, of course, check it. A high score can save you thousands in interest. A low score can cost you thousands, or even shut you out of opportunities. Let me share a story. Marcus had always ignored his credit score. He assumed it didn't matter because he wasn't planning to buy a house anytime soon. But when he applied for a car loan, the bank offered him an interest rate twice as high as his friend with a better score. That one number meant Marcus would pay thousands more for the same car. That was his wake-up call. So, let's pull back the curtain. The 5 factors of your credit score. Payment history, 35%. Do you pay bills on time? Even one missed payment can drag your score down for years. Consistency is everything. Credit utilization, 30%. How much of your available credit are you using? If you have a $5,000 limit and carry a $4,000 balance, your utilization is 80%, and that hurts your score. Ideally, keep it under 30%, and even better, under 10%. Length of credit history, 15%. The longer your accounts have been open, the better. This is why it's often smart to keep old credit cards open, even if you don't use them often. Credit mix, 10%. Lenders like to see that you can handle different types of credit cards, loans, mortgages. Don't take on debt just to improve this, but know it plays a role. New credit inquiries, 10%. Every time you apply for credit, it creates a hard inquiry that temporarily lowers your score. Too many at once can look risky. That's it. No black magic, just math. Pause and ask yourself, which of these 5 areas do I need to focus on improving right now? Now, how do you take control? Step 1. Know your score. You can't fix what you don't measure. Use free tools like Credit Karma or check if your bank offers score monitoring. Step 2. Pay on time, every time. Even if it's just the minimum, pay before the due date. Set up autopay if you have to. This one habit alone will transform your score over time. Step 3. Lower your utilization. If your cards are maxed out, focus on paying them down. Another trick? Ask your card company for a credit limit increase. If granted, it lowers your utilization ratio instantly as long as you don't use the extra credit. Step 4. Don't close old accounts. That old credit card from college? Keep it open. It helps your length of credit history. Step 5. Space out applications. Only apply for new credit when necessary. Multiple hard inquiries in a short time can signal desperation to lenders. Here's a story for hope. Samantha had a 580 credit score low enough that she couldn't qualify for an apartment without a cosigner. She committed to paying every bill on time, paid down her cards to under 20% utilization, and avoided new debt. In 18 months, her score climbed to 720. That single change saved her thousands in rent deposits and allowed her to qualify for lower insurance rates, too. Your credit score is not who you are. It's simply a snapshot of your habits. And habits can change. Imagine this. A year from now, you apply for a loan and get the lowest interest rate offered. Not because you're lucky, but because you built strong financial habits. You walk away knowing that 3-digit number is working for you, not against you. Here's your challenge. Pull your credit score this week. Look at where you stand. Then pick one action. Maybe setting up auto pay, maybe lowering utilization that will move the needle in your favor. And remember, this journey works best when it's shared. Comment below. What's one thing you're going to do this month to improve your credit score? Let's hold each other accountable. If this chapter gave you clarity, like this video, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Because in the next chapter, we're tackling a topic many find intimidating but essential for true freedom. Investing. And I promise, I'll make it simple, approachable, and maybe even exciting. Your credit score doesn't define you, but learning how to master it? That's one more step toward financial freedom. Chapter 9. Investing Made Simple. For many millennials, the word investing feels intimidating. It conjures images of Wall Street brokers shouting into phones, complicated charts, or people in suits making moves you don't understand. Maybe you've thought, that's not for me. I don't have enough money. I don't know enough. I don't want to lose everything. But here's the truth. Investing is not just for the wealthy or the financial experts. It's for you. And it's not nearly as complicated as the world makes it seem. In fact, the hardest part isn't the math, it's overcoming fear and getting started. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what's the first emotion I feel when I hear the word investing? Excitement? Fear? Confusion? Most of us weren't taught how to invest in school. We learned geometry and Shakespeare, but not how to grow our money. As a result, many people either avoid it altogether or jump in blindly, hoping for the best. Neither path leads to freedom. The goal here is to demystify investing so it feels like something you can do with confidence, even starting small. Let me share a story. Maria was a 27-year-old teacher who believed investing was only for rich people. She had some student debt and figured she'd never have enough to invest, but a colleague explained compound interest to her, how even small amounts grow over time. Maria decided to test it. She started by putting just $100 a month into a simple index fund. 10 years later, she had invested $12,000, but her account had grown to more than $20,000 thanks to compounding. Suddenly, Maria understood. Investing wasn't about being rich. It was how she would become rich. So, let's break it down. The basics of investing. Start early. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. Thanks to compound interest, even small contributions add up massively over decades. Keep it simple. You don't need to pick individual stocks or time the market. Most successful investors stick with diversified, low-cost index funds, or ETFs. Think long-term investing is not about quick wins. It's about steady growth over years. Don't panic when the market dips. It's part of the process. Automate it. Set up automatic contributions to your investment account, just like your savings. That way, you don't have to rely on willpower. Pause and ask yourself, if I invested just $100 a month for the next 20 years, how would that change my future? Now, let's tackle some myths. Myth 1. I don't have enough money to invest. Reality. You can start with as little as $10 or $20 on some platforms. It's not about how much you start with, it's about building the habit. Myth 2. Investing is too risky. Reality. Not investing is often riskier. Inflation eats away at your savings every year. By investing, you give your money a chance to grow faster than inflation. Myth 3. I need to be an expert. Reality, you don't. With tools like index funds, you're essentially investing in hundreds of companies at once. It's simple, effective, and historically reliable. Here's another story. James avoided investing because he feared losing it all. Finally, at age 35, he decided to start with $200 a month in an index fund. By the time he was 50, he had over $100,000, most of it from growth, not his own contributions. The biggest regret James had? Not starting earlier. Imagine yourself 10, 20, 30 years from now. Instead of worrying about money, you're watching your investments generate income for you. Maybe it helps you retire early, travel the world, or simply sleep peacefully knowing your future is secure. Here's your challenge. Open an investment account this week. Research low-cost index funds or ETFs. Start small, maybe $50 or $100. The amount matters less than the action. Once you begin, you'll see it's not nearly as scary as it seems. And remember, we're building this journey together. Comment below. What's one thing that has held you back from investing until now? You'll likely find others who share your concern, and together, we'll overcome it. If this chapter gave you clarity, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and tap the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll talk about retirement. And spoiler alert, it's not just for boomers. Millennials can't afford to wait. Investing isn't about being rich today. It's about buying your freedom tomorrow. And the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time? Right now. Chapter 10. Retirement isn't just for boomers. When you hear the word retirement, what picture comes to mind? Maybe a silver-haired couple playing golf, traveling the world, or sitting on a beach somewhere. For many millennials, retirement feels like something so distant, something only our parents or grandparents need to worry about. After all, we're busy paying bills, paying off debt, and trying to get ahead now. But here's the reality. If you're a millennial, retirement is not just a someday dream, it's a today decision. Because the earlier you start planning, the easier and more powerful your path to freedom becomes. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when I think about retirement, do I feel hopeful or do I feel overwhelmed? Most people feel overwhelmed, and it's easy to see why. The numbers tossed around by financial experts can sound impossible. You'll need $1 million or more to retire comfortably. But here's the truth. You don't have to get there overnight. Retirement isn't built in a single day. It's built day by day, decision by decision. Let me share a story. Sarah, a millennial in her late 20s, once told me she couldn't even think about retirement because she had student loans. But after learning about compound growth, she realized she didn't need to wait until her debt was gone to start. She began contributing just $75 a month into her employer's retirement plan. It didn't feel like much. But 20 years later, that small contribution, combined with her growing income, put her well ahead of peers who had waited to feel ready. Sarah's secret wasn't perfection. It was simply starting early. That's the key. Time is your greatest advantage. If you're young, every dollar you invest for retirement can grow exponentially. For example, if you invest $200 a month starting at age 25, by age 65, you could have over $500,000 even at a modest return. Start at age 35, and you'd end up with less than half of that. Time multiplies money. So how do you start preparing for retirement now? Leverage employer plans. If your employer offers a 401k or similar plan, especially with a match, take it. A match is free money. Don't leave it on the table. Open an IRA or Roth IRA. If you don't have a workplace plan, or if you want to add more, open an individual retirement account. A Roth IRA in particular is powerful for millennials because your money grows tax-free. Automate contributions. Just like saving, automation is the secret weapon. Set up automatic contributions so investing for retirement happens whether you think about it or not. Increase over time. If you can't contribute much now, that's okay. Start small, then increase by 1% each year. You'll barely notice the difference, but your future self will. Pause and ask yourself, if I started saving for retirement today, what kind of freedom would I want my future self to enjoy? Now let's address a common myth. Many millennials think Social Security will cover retirement. But here's the truth. Even if Social Security is still around, it's not designed to replace your full income. It's meant to be a supplement. Your real retirement security will come from the wealth you build yourself. Here's another story. David ignored retirement savings until his late 30s. He told himself, I'll start when I make more money. By the time he finally began, he had lost over a decade of compounding. He now contributes aggressively, but he admits he's playing catch-up. Don't make David's mistake. Imagine this. You're in your 60s, but instead of worrying about whether you can afford to stop working, you're choosing whether you want to work. You wake up one morning and decide, I don't need this job anymore. That's not retirement, that's freedom. And that freedom comes from the small, consistent actions you take today. Here's your challenge. If you haven't already, open a retirement account this week. Even if you only put in $25 or $50, start the habit. If you already have one, increase your contribution by 1%. Tiny steps, big impact. And let's make this interactive. Share in the comments. What's one freedom you'd love to enjoy in retirement? Maybe it's travel, maybe it's helping your kids, maybe it's simply peace of mind. If this chapter gave you clarity, like this video, subscribe for more, and hit the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll dive into the psychology of spending. Why do we spend the way we do? And how can we break free from lifestyle inflation that keeps so many people stuck? Retirement isn't just for boomers, it's for you. And the sooner you start, the sooner you can choose a future of freedom instead of fear. Chapter 11. The Psychology of Spending. Have you ever walked into a store planning to buy one thing, only to leave with a bag full of items you didn't need? Or opened your phone for just 5 minutes and ended up with a cart full of impulse buys from an online ad? If so, you've experienced the psychology of spending. The truth is, spending isn't always logical. It's emotional. Companies know this, and they spend billions designing ways to get you to part with your money. From bright limited time offer signs to one-click purchases online, every detail is engineered to make spending feel easy, almost automatic. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time I bought something I didn't plan to? What emotion drove that decision? Stress, boredom, excitement, or even loneliness? Spending is rarely about the item itself. It's about the feeling we expect it to give us. A new outfit promises confidence. A new gadget promises excitement. Dinner delivery promises comfort. But here's the catch. Those feelings often fade quickly, leaving us with clutter, regret, and a lighter bank account. Let me share a story. Jasmine was a young professional who earned a decent income but never seemed to have money left at the end of the month. When she tracked her spending, she realized much of it came from retail therapy after tough days at work. Shopping gave her a temporary high, but the stress always returned, and so did the credit card bills. Once Jasmine recognized the emotional trigger, she found healthier outlets for stress, like exercising and journaling. Slowly, her finances and her peace of mind improved. That's the first step to mastering spending. Awareness. Common traps of lifestyle inflation. Keeping up with friends. Your friend books a vacation, so you book one too. They buy a new phone, and suddenly yours feels outdated. This constant comparison keeps you broke. Rewarding yourself too often. It's great to celebrate wins, but if every Friday becomes a treat yourself day, those little rewards add up fast. Subscription creep. A few dollars here, a few there. Before you know it, you're paying for 10 different services you rarely use. Boredom. Buying online shopping. When you're bored or stressed is like snacking when you're not hungry. It fills a moment but empties your wallet. Pause and ask yourself, which of these traps have I fallen into recently? Now let's flip the script. How do you take control of spending psychology? Step 1. Create a pause rule. Before any non-essential purchase, wait 24 hours. This simple delay helps separate impulse from true need. Step 2. Redefine luxury. Luxury isn't about owning more. It's about owning with intention. Instead of chasing every trend, choose fewer, higher quality items that actually enrich your life. Step 3. Replace emotional triggers. If stress drives your spending, find healthier coping mechanisms. Exercise, journaling, calling a friend. If boredom drives it, replace the habit with hobbies that cost little or nothing. Step 4. Align spending with values. Ask yourself, does this purchase move me closer to the life I want, or is it just filling a temporary gap? Here's another story. A man named Kevin always felt broke despite earning well. When he examined his expenses, he realized much of his money went to impressing others' expensive dinners, luxury brands, constant upgrades. Once he shifted focus from looking rich to being free, everything changed. He started saying no to social pressure, cut unnecessary expenses, and redirected his money toward investments. Today, Kevin lives comfortably and, more importantly, authentically. Remember, money should serve you, not control you. When you understand the psychology behind your spending, you stop being a puppet pulled by marketing strings and start becoming the author of your financial story. Imagine this. Every dollar you spend aligns perfectly with your values. No more guilt, no more impulse regret. Just intentional choices that build both joy and freedom. That's true financial power. Here's your challenge. Track your spending for the next week. But this time, note the emotion behind each purchase. Were you happy, stressed, bored, or pressured? At the end of the week, review your notes. You'll begin to see patterns, and with patterns come power. And don't forget, we're building this together. Share in the comments. What's one emotional trigger that often causes you to spend? You'll find you're not alone. If this chapter resonated with you, like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we're diving into one of the trickiest parts of money: relationships. How do you handle finances with your partner, your family, or even your friends without drama or guilt? Spending is emotional, but when you master your emotions, you master your money. Chapter 12. Relationships and Money. Money doesn't exist in a vacuum. No matter how disciplined or intentional you are, your financial life intersects with others, partners, friends, family, even coworkers. And often, it's not the numbers that cause stress in relationships, it's the conversations we don't have. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what's the first memory I have of money and relationships? Was it harmony or tension? For many of us, money was a source of arguments in our households growing up. That history can follow us into adulthood, shaping how we communicate or avoid communicating about finances. Let's start with the most intimate relationship: your partner. Money and love. When two people come together, they don't just bring feelings. They bring financial histories, habits, and sometimes debt. One person might be a saver, the other a spender. One may see debt as normal, the other as terrifying. Without honest conversations, these differences can create friction. Here's a story. Emma and Josh loved each other deeply, but money nearly tore them apart. Emma grew up in a frugal household and believed in saving aggressively. Josh, on the other hand, saw money as something to enjoy. He never thought twice about swiping his card. They argued constantly until they finally sat down and laid everything on the table. By setting shared goals, like saving for a house, and agreeing on personal, fun money budgets, they transformed their fights into teamwork. The lesson? Transparency builds trust. If you're in a relationship, here are a few principles to follow. Talk early and often. Don't wait until there's a crisis. Schedule regular money check-ins, even just once a month. Set shared goals. Agree on what you're working toward together, whether it's paying off debt, buying a home, or traveling. Respect differences. It's okay to have different spending styles. Build space for individuality within your shared plan. No secrets. Hidden debt or secret spending erodes trust. Be open, even if it's uncomfortable at first. Pause and ask yourself, am I being fully transparent about money with the people closest to me? Friends and social pressure relationships with friends can also challenge your finances. How many times have you said yes to a night out, a trip, or an event just because you didn't want to be the odd one out? Social spending can drain your budget faster than you realize. Here's the key. True friends care more about your well-being than whether you split another round of overpriced cocktails. Learn to say no with confidence, or suggest affordable alternatives. Instead of expensive dinners, host a potluck. Instead of costly vacations, plan local adventures. A woman named Lila once told me she went into credit card debt just trying to keep up with her friend group. Eventually, she realized real friendship shouldn't come at the cost of her financial freedom. When she started being honest about her budget, she was surprised to find her friends respected her more, and some even admitted they felt the same pressures. Family and boundaries. Then there's family. Maybe you felt pressure to help financially, even when you couldn't afford to. Or maybe your family's money habits clash with your new financial goals. It's important to remember, helping others is generous, but not at the expense of your own stability. You can't pour from an empty cup. Set boundaries lovingly but firmly. For example, I wish I could help more, but right now I need to focus on paying off my own debt. I can support in non-financial ways. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Money conversations without conflict. Here are some tools to make financial conversations easier. Use we language. Instead of saying, "You spend too much," try, "How can we align our spending with our goals?" Focus on the future. Talk about what you want to create together, not just what went wrong in the past. Stay curious, not critical. Ask questions instead of making accusations. Understanding leads to solutions. Imagine this. Your relationships no longer feel strained by money. Instead, money becomes a tool that strengthens connection because you're aligned, transparent, and working toward shared dreams. Here's your challenge. This week, have one intentional money conversation with someone important in your life. It could be your partner, a friend, or a family member. Keep it honest, simple, and future-focused. And of course, let's grow together here. Share in the comments. What's one area of money and relationships you'd like to improve? You might be surprised how many others are working on the same thing. If this chapter resonated with you, hit like, subscribe for more, and turn on the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll discuss what happens when life throws financial punches. Emergencies will come, but with the right plan, they don't have to knock you out. Money doesn't have to divide relationships. With honesty, boundaries, and shared vision, it can actually bring you closer together. Chapter 13. When life punches you in the wallet. No matter how careful you are, life has a way of throwing curveballs. A car breaks down. A medical bill arrives. You lose your job. The truth is, financial emergencies don't ask for permission. They don't wait until you're ready. They just show up. And when they do, they can knock you flat if you're not prepared. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, if I faced a $1,000 emergency tomorrow, how would I handle it? Would I be ready, or would I panic? For many millennials, the honest answer is panic. Surveys show that nearly half of Americans couldn't cover a $400 unexpected expense without borrowing or going into debt. That's not just a financial issue. It's a stress issue, a mental health issue, a confidence issue. Let me share a story. Natalie was a young graphic designer, living paycheck to paycheck. She had just started building her savings when her laptop, the tool she needed for her work, completely crashed. Without an emergency fund, she had to put the replacement on her credit card. That one unexpected expense spiraled into months of interest payments. Later, Natalie told me, if I'd had just a small cushion, that situation would have been stressful, but not devastating. That's the difference preparation makes. Why you need an emergency fund. An emergency fund is your financial shock absorber. It's not glamorous. You won't brag to your friends about it, but when life punches you in the wallet, it's the one thing that keeps you standing. Start small. Aim for $500 to $1,000 as your first milestone. That may not cover every crisis, but it will cover many. Once you've built that, aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's your safety net, the buffer between you and panic. How to build your emergency fund. Start small, but start now. Even $20 a week adds up. Don't wait until you have more money. Build the habit today. Automate it. Just like with other savings, set up an automatic transfer to a separate account. Treat it like a non-negotiable bill to yourself. Keep it accessible, but separate. An emergency fund should be easy to reach when needed, but not so easy that you're tempted to dip into it for non-emergencies. A simple savings account works perfectly. Define what counts as an emergency. Unexpected car repair? Yes. Last-minute concert tickets? No. Be clear with yourself so you don't sabotage your safety net. Pause and ask yourself, if I had 3 months of expenses saved, how much less stress would I feel about my future? Beyond emergencies, building resilience. It's not just about having cash. It's about having options. Build resilience by diversifying your income, maintaining good insurance, and strengthening your skills. The more flexible and prepared you are, the less any financial punch will knock you out. Here's another story. Daniel lost his job during a company downsizing. While his coworkers scrambled to make ends meet, Daniel was calm. Why? Because he had 6 months of expenses saved. That cushion gave him breathing room to search for the right job instead of taking the first one that came along. He later said, "My emergency fund bought me dignity." That's powerful. Action step. This week, calculate how much 3 months of living expenses would be for you. Write that number down. Then, set a small automatic transfer toward that goal. Don't worry if it feels slow. The point is consistency, not speed. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Share in the comments. What's your first emergency fund goal? $500? $1,000? Let's encourage each other on the journey. If this chapter gave you clarity, like this video, subscribe for more, and hit the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll go deeper. It's not just about surviving emergencies. It's about thriving by designing a rich life one, aligned with your values, your passions, and your vision of success. Life will punch you in the wallet. It's inevitable. But with preparation, you don't just survive the hit. You bounce back stronger. Chapter 14. Designing Your Rich Life. What does it really mean to be rich? For many, the word brings to mind yachts, luxury cars, and giant mansions. But here's the truth. Being rich isn't about having more stuff. It's about having more freedom. It's about living a life that feels aligned with your values, your passions, and your purpose. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, if money were no object, how would I design my ideal life? What would my days look like? Who would I spend time with? What would I create? Your answers may surprise you. Most people don't actually crave endless luxury. They crave peace, security, travel, experiences, time with loved ones, or the ability to give generously. That's a rich life. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to wait until you're a millionaire to start building it. You can begin designing your rich life right now. Let me share a story. Priya always believed she needed to earn 6 figures before she could feel rich. But when she finally sat down and defined her dream life, she realized it wasn't about money, it was about flexibility. She wanted time to paint, to travel occasionally, and to live in a small but cozy home near family. Once she saw that clearly, she realized she didn't need millions. She needed intentionality. Within a few years of budgeting, saving, and creating extra income, she was living that life. She wasn't waiting. She was already rich in the ways that mattered most to her. The pillars of a rich life. Freedom of time. Wealth isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in hours. Do you control your time, or does money control it for you? Meaningful work. A rich life doesn't always mean quitting your job. It means aligning your work with your values, or using financial freedom to choose work you love. Experiences over things. Research shows people feel more joy from experiences than from possessions. A trip with friends or a day spent creating memories often outlasts the thrill of buying something new. Generosity. Many people find the richest moments come from giving, whether it's to loved ones, causes you believe in, or strangers in need. Pause and ask yourself, which of these pillars matters most to me right now? Designing your rich life in practical steps. Define your vision. Write down what a rich life means to you. Be specific. Don't just say freedom. Say, I want to spend Fridays hiking, or I want to save enough to visit a new country every year. Align your money with your vision. Look at your spending. Does it reflect your rich life vision or someone else's? If you say travel matters most, but all your money goes to random online shopping, there's a mismatch. Eliminate the non-essential, cut ruthlessly on what doesn't matter so you can spend freely on what does. This isn't about restriction, it's about redirection. Start living it now. Don't wait for someday. Find ways to live pieces of your rich life today, even on a small scale. If you dream of traveling the world, start with a weekend trip nearby. If you dream of generosity, start by giving $10. Here's another story. Anthony always dreamed of retiring to write novels. One day he asked himself, why am I waiting? He began dedicating 2 evenings a week to writing, even while working full-time. Years later, those evenings turned into his first published book. His rich life didn't begin someday. It began the moment he chose to design it. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and your life feels aligned. The work you do, the way you spend, the goals you pursue, all reflect your vision. That's not just financial freedom. That's a rich life by design. Action step. This week, take 30 minutes to write down your rich life vision. Be bold. Dream big. Then circle 3 elements you can start living right now, no matter your budget. And remember, this journey is about community too. Share in the comments. What does your rich life look like? You may inspire someone else to rethink what wealth really means. If this chapter inspired you, like this video, subscribe for more, and hit the notification bell, because in the next chapter, we'll explore what financial freedom really means on your terms. It's not about someone else's definition of success, it's about creating yours. A rich life isn't defined by the size of your bank account. It's defined by the size of your vision and your willingness to live it. Chapter 15. Financial freedom on your terms. We've covered a lot on this journey: budgeting, saving, investing, relationships, even the psychology of spending. But here's the ultimate truth. Financial freedom doesn't have a one-size-fits-all definition. It's not about copying someone else's dream. It's about creating a life where you call the shots. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what does financial freedom mean to me personally? Is it quitting a job you dislike? Is it traveling the world? Is it starting a business? Or simply knowing your bills are covered without stress? For some, financial freedom means early retirement. For others, it means having the flexibility to work part-time while pursuing passions. For still others, it's about the peace of mind that comes from having no debt and a healthy savings account. The key is this: it's your definition that matters, not your neighbors, not Instagram's, not society's. Let me share a story. Carlos used to believe financial freedom meant becoming a millionaire. He hustled hard, worked long hours, and saved aggressively. But when he finally hit the 7-figure milestone, he felt empty. Why? Because he had been chasing someone else's vision of success. When he stopped and redefined freedom for himself, he realized what he truly wanted was time with his kids, the ability to volunteer, and a modest but secure lifestyle. That's when he finally felt free. The lesson? Financial freedom isn't about a number, it's about alignment. Steps to define freedom on your terms. Write your freedom statement. Finish this sentence. I'll know I'm financially free when... Maybe it's when your debt is gone, when you can cover 6 months of expenses without income, or when you can afford to work only on projects you love. Calculate your enough number. Forget chasing infinity. What's the monthly or yearly income you need to live your rich life? For some, it's $40,000 a year. For others, $100,000. Clarity here is powerful. Design around values, not comparison. If travel lights you up, prioritize it. If stability is your core value, focus on security. Don't let someone else's highlight reel dictate your goals. Build flexibility. True freedom comes not just from money, but from options. Diversify your income, build an emergency fund, invest wisely, and keep life flexible. Pause and ask yourself, if I achieved financial freedom tomorrow, what would I do differently with my days? Here's another story. Maya believed freedom was about quitting her 9-to-5. But when she finally did, she realized she missed the structure and community of work. What she really wanted was balance, working 3 days a week and using the rest of her time for art and travel. Once she redefined her version of freedom, she found deep satisfaction. That's the beauty of financial freedom. It's customizable. Action step. This week, write your freedom statement. Define your enough number. Then, share it with someone you trust, or write it in the comments below. Putting it into words makes it real. And remember, this journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each step you've taken, whether it's building a budget, starting to invest, or simply becoming more aware, has brought you closer to freedom. Imagine this. A year from now, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're living life on your own terms, aligned with your values, and empowered by the choices you've made. That's financial freedom. If this chapter gave you clarity, hit like, subscribe for more, and tap the notification bell, because in the next and final chapter, we'll tie everything together. You'll see that the journey to wealth and wisdom isn't something you finish. It's something you keep growing for life. Financial freedom isn't about arriving at a destination. It's about choosing your own path and walking it with confidence. Chapter 16. The journey never ends. We've come a long way together. From the wake-up call in Chapter 1 to defining your version of financial freedom in Chapter 15, you've built a foundation of awareness, mindset, tools, and strategies that can change your life forever. But here's the truth. Financial freedom isn't a finish line. It's a lifelong journey. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, do I see money as a destination or as a tool I'll keep learning to master throughout my life? The most successful people never stop learning about money. They never stop refining their habits. They never stop growing. Why? Because life changes. Your goals will evolve. Your definition of freedom may shift. And that's not failure. It's growth. Let me share a story. Daniel thought his journey ended when he became debt-free. He celebrated, and rightly so. But after a few months, he felt restless. He realized that freedom wasn't just about being debt-free. It was about building wealth, creating impact, and designing a future for his family. That's when he understood. The journey never ends. It simply moves to a new chapter. The seasons of the money journey. Survival. Covering the basics. Breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. Stability. Building your emergency fund. Getting rid of high-interest debt. Growth. Investing consistently. Increasing income. Expanding opportunities. Freedom. Designing life on your terms, choosing work you love, giving generously. Legacy. Passing wisdom, resources, and opportunities to others. Pause and ask yourself, which season am I in right now, and what's the next step forward? The beauty of this journey is that it doesn't have to be rushed. Each step you take builds on the last. even when setbacks happen, and they will, you now have the tools to recover. Remember chapter 13? Life will punch you in the wallet, but you've learned how to prepare, how to bounce back, and how to keep moving forward. Here's another story. A woman named Alicia once told me she regretted starting late. She was in her 40s when she finally got serious about money. But within a decade, she had paid off debt, built investments, and started living a rich life aligned with her values. She said, "I used to think I was behind, but once I started, I realized I was exactly where I needed to be." That's the truth. You are never too late, and you are never too far gone. Imagine this. Years from now, you look back at the moment you decided to take control. You remember how broke you once felt, how overwhelmed you once were, and you smile. Because now, you're living proof that anyone can change their story. Action step. Your action step now is simple but powerful. Commit to lifelong growth. Keep reading. Keep learning. Keep surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. Review your goals regularly and update your vision as life evolves. And here's a question to reflect on deeply. What legacy do I want to leave? Not just in money, but in wisdom, values, and impact. Because in the end, wealth isn't just about numbers. It's about the lives you touch, the freedom you create, and the story you leave behind. This is where your next chapter begins. And before we close, I want to invite you to be part of this community. Share your biggest takeaway from this book in the comments below. Like this video if it gave you hope, and subscribe for more, because this journey works best when we walk it together. Financial freedom is not the end, it's the beginning of a richer, fuller, more intentional life. You don't have to have all the answers, you just have to take the next step. So here's to you, the broke millennial who chose not to stay broke, the one rewriting your story, building your future, and proving that the journey never ends.